Hey, good morning. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, Chuck.
That's how I feel this morning. I feel it just now.
Is that a sigh of relief or exasperation?
It is. It's a sigh of relief.
Because we think we're really live.
We think we're on. Yeah, my monitor's rolling. I think it's working. You
All
have a
right,
beautiful
awesome.
dress on. The monitor's got you with the right outfit. It's perfect.
Awesome. Well, if you're watching, let us know. Tell us where you are. Let us know you're watching. Oh my
Right?
gosh, that's so cool. Kathy Bianchi is watching. John Myshak is watching. So awesome. It's
Whoa. Speaking
working.
of Kathy Bianchi, congratulations, Kathy. Woo,
Woo, woo.
woo.
Big shout
I
out.
she's a true power player in our local business market. She was named in the RBJ power what the power I don't know, power team or power group, power
Yes.
brokers, power local. Kathy's got power. Trust me, she does. I know firsthand. But honestly, it makes me feel really lucky just to be on her team and to work with her. She's just she's just a great partner. I love working with Kathy. So
I
absolutely.
agree.
So way to go, Kath.
Way to go, Kath. We're very proud.
Yay.
All right, so let's just jump right into it because
Mm.
we called this show the best tools you've already forgotten.
Yeah, this was your idea. Fantastic. Fantastic. Yesterday in our show prep, she goes, Chuck, I was thinking about blah, blah, blah. And I go, oh my God, that's a great idea.
You
So
know,
yeah,
and
Lisa
part
has
of
great
it comes
ideas.
from especially for us as managers, and I'm sure Kathy has the same reaction when she tells a group of us managers, well, remember to do such and such, and we give that blank stare. And that's sometimes what happens is we roll out a tool. Maybe you don't use it immediately, and then it's in
Yep.
and out because you haven't needed it. And so we had a long list of these, but we decided to focus on three of them: the Earnest app, Open to Close, and Community 411. So those are
Okay.
the three that we're going to talk about today, and we want to get through them quick for you so that we can make sure we cover them. So Earnest is probably the fastest one to talk about, the easiest one to talk about, because it's purely
Yep.
method to get the escrow from the buyer to the escrow account at Howard Hanna.
Okay. But I think Earnest, okay, like if you're working with a buyer and you're working an offer especially if it's a listing on a Howard Hanna agent listing. Okay.
Mhm.
Because the broker has to be registered as an escrow holder. Okay. So now in Buffalo, it's Howard Hanna, Western New York. That's the escrow holder name. In
Mhm.
Rochester, it's Howard Hanna New York Rochester. So if you're in Rochester, don't select Howard Hanna, Western New York. It will not be the right one. So that's key. But I think this opportunity separates you from other agents because you can say to the listing agent, hey, tell your buyers if they accept our offer, they'll have the escrow deposit within 15 minutes. We'll have it. We'll have a receipt for the escrow deposit within 15 minutes after acceptance.
Yeah.
I
And
mean, it's
and
bananas fast.
after acceptance or whenever it's due, because these are one of the things that, depending on your market practices,
Mm-hmm.
and actually, if you're, our contract of sale in Erie County, and every county can be different, you've got your choices after attorney approval, after signature, after home inspection. Move it up, like make it faster if you're in a competitive situation. Put that big
Right.
deposit. So
But you've got to make a deposit. Like if you've got to drive that deposit over to the other broker and drop it off because you don't want to put it in the mail and you don't want to, or think of this, like you tell your customer, your buyer is telling you, well, how do I get this deposit over to you? Or, oh, you got to bring it in, or, oh, you got to go over here, or blah, blah, blah. Oh, and can you send me a picture of it and all this stuff? And you say,
yeah,
listen, I got a better answer.
yeah.
It's all secure. It's all encrypted. It's all insured.
And it's
Hello.
better than putting
So,
it, like you said, it's better than pulling it in the mail, putting it in the
mhm,
mail. And think about our buyers out there.
mhm,
Frankly, in this world, even me, I don't write many checks anymore, right?
right.
I was at the supermarket, I don't know, it had to be 2 months ago, and
Mhm.
someone stood at the register and wrote a check. It was like, whoa, I haven't seen that in years. But
the,
many of our
the
buyers
cashier, oh
today,
my God, the cashier at the register is probably like, what is that?
what is that?
What is
I've never
this?
seen that, right? So
What's
think about your
this
buyers.
airplane?
right? Or you're out of town people. So to go into it, and
Yeah.
so Earnest is an app. It's a money transfer, right?
Yeah.
When it
Yeah,
first,
that's great.
we also had people nervous, right? Nervous, like,
So
do I want to be involved in this? But yeah,
I got a great review from actually my buyers. So I had a listing and buyers wrote and got the deal, and she called me and said, "Chuck, we're ready to do the deposit. You know, how do you want me to get this to you?" And I said, "I'll just send you blah blah blah, boom boom boom." And the next time I saw her, she said, "Chuck, that was amazing." She said, "It was so fast. It was so easy. I got an email. I just had to answer questions, put in the blah, blah, blah. And, and I got the receipt.
yes,
Like,
yeah,
and I didn't have to go anywhere. She was done from the
yeah,
moment we went to setting it up. We were done in 15 minutes. And I was able to put both attorneys in on it. So they both know that it got done. I was able to put the loan officer's email as a communication. So the loan officer knows that the money has been deposited.
yeah,
And then what's other thing about that is like you don't, at least in Rochester, when you do the earnest, you don't have to, especially if it's from like another office. Sometimes checks get dropped off at other offices. Who's notifying DET? Who's doing blah blah blah? When it's earnest, you don't have to do any of that. It just
yeah,
the money's going to hit the account, and they're going to see the deposit, and when they see it, it's going to balance out on that report we get. So it
yeah.
just couldn't be any easier. It's awesome.
So you're going to make it all happen. You're going to download the app, right?
Right.
So whether you're at the app store, the Play Store, whatever vehicle you use on your
Yep.
phone, it's an app. So you're downloading the app to your phone. You, as the listing agent, you're going to be requesting the money, right?
Right.
So you're going to need the client's email address and phone number. If there's more than one party buying, just ask them which one's going to handle the deposit. And that's the information that you're going to put into the system. You're going to put in the property address. Just like Chuck said, you're going to put in which company or which area, region of the company you're in, because that's where the deposit's going to go. And then once you submit that, like, Chuck mentioned that his client liked getting the email. Well, once you do that, you're also going to get notification that says, do you also want to text the person? So again, your client has the option. Do they want to interact with it on an email, or do they want to get a text message? Most of us, I know I have links to my bank accounts on my phone. It's very easy to make that transfer. Now, if
Yep.
you were to, now there is a charge, right? Like you're going
Oh
to pay
yeah. Yep.
$18 for this
Well, but there's
service.
a charge for a wire transfer. It's a lot more
Exactly.
than $18.
There's a
And
charge for wire transfer. There's a charge for a bank check. There's a
right.
charge for overnight mail certified. We're seeing deposits. It is not unusual to see a
What's
$50,000
your time
deposit.
worth?
Well, exactly.
Right? What's
And
your
we're
absolutely.
right. And people are used to paying for service, right? Like when
Yeah.
DoorDash,
Ooh.
Uber Eats first came out, like I thought that was insane to pay delivery,
Okay.
but people love it, right?
Speaking of service, listen to this. I did have a little problem with Earnest last week when I was trying to do this with my client. I did have a little bit of a problem. Okay. But you know what? Is that like, let me get over in the
Sorry.
center. So I did have a little bit of a problem and I didn't know what to do. And so I went to the support on the Earnest app. I went to support, and guess what? A dude answered the phone, and I could understand him perfectly. Uh, and I was chatting with him, and he told me I told him what was happening. He said, "You know what? We've done a bunch of updates to the app recently. So is your app fully updated?" And I said, "Well, I think so. I have automatic updates toggled. So, but I think as it turned out, my app maybe wasn't fully updated and I couldn't get it to update." So he goes, "Listen, don't worry about it. Just delete the app and then download it again, put it in." And so I did that, and I downloaded you get the newest version of the app when you download it. And guess what? It put me right back with my account. I saw my previous transfers. I was able to do this new transfer, easy peasy.
Yeah.
And everything was awesome. I chatted with a guy about, I mean, he honestly sounded like the president of the company. I go, "Oh, you guys growing? You're doing it." He says, "Yeah, it's great, blah, blah, blah." I go, "Listen, I love it. Fantastic. My clients love it." So
Yeah.
if you need support, just click on the support. It's easy.
Yes.
I
And
really, it was a great experience. Great,
when
great,
you
great
first
experience.
start in, you're going to be putting in the information about the client. And again, who wants to be notified. So if I'm
Mhm.
doing it as the listing agent, I'm going to add the buyer's agent. You can add whoever you want at the beginning. But then
Yep.
also, like you're talking about, Chuck, but then those people get notified every step of the way.
One time, oh, go ahead.
When it's completed, you get an email
You
that
know me,
says
I'm an interrupter. I'm not going to
it's
let you finish anything today, apparently.
when it's all done, you get the email that it's completed, the money's been sent, and that email you can forward again to anybody that you need to. You can forward it to your admin, you can forward it to the attorneys, to the bank, just like Chuck was saying,
Yep.
and everyone's notified.
Yep. What,
So,
we always look at this. So we normally think of the earnest deposit as a buyer's agent function, right? Because you're working with the buyer and the money's coming from the buyer and the buyer has to do this and the buyer has to do all that, right?
yeah.
But really, since it's usually the listing agent that's holding the money in escrow, like
Yeah.
so quick story. I had a house in Leroy and the agent was not from Howard Hanna. And I said, and like you said earlier, you're out of town, out of area buyers. And I said, hey, and I knew this agent. We knew each other really well. And I said, listen, I got the answer. And the money's coming to us anyway. So why don't I send them the request for this money to your buyers through this
Right.
Earnest app, right? And that's exactly how we did it. So so you could be the list agent and you could take over, you could do
Yes.
this, right? And the buyer's agent could be from a different brokerage. It doesn't, I mean,
Yes.
I hope not. I hope they're from Hannah, but sometimes, I do a lot of times my buyers and,
Yeah.
we cooperate. So, um, don't think you can only do this when you're representing a buyer, working with a buyer, right?
Yeah.
You could definitely do it as a list agent and
Yes.
everybody, man, that's going to be a great experience. That agent is going to be excited to work with you again on the next transaction, knowing how easy this part of it can be.
Right.
Um,
And I think the
mhm.
best thing is when it is your listing and the other buyer has the agent, you definitely want that other agent's email. You want them in the chain from start to finish, right? Because
Yes.
that's going to help that trust factor. Like, listen,
Yep.
I'm trying to get the money. That's all I care
That's
about. I'm
it.
not trying to scoop up your
And we're
client.
just trying to put it in hold. It's not even like our money.
No,
It's no
no,
one's money. It's just
right.
sitting there waiting for its next step, right?
Yes. Yes.
So you know what? I was thinking, Lisa, I think we should do a really long show today. We should go way long because because we got three really great things to talk about. And next week we can't go long, right? Because Joe Rand's starting the
Yes.
buyer's agent specialty designation
Yes.
or certification or something. And that's going to go for 4 weeks from
4
10
Wednesdays,
a.m. to
10 a.m.
11:30, the 5th, the
Yes.
12th, the 19th, the 26th. So we got to be short. We got to
Yes.
be done before. So today we can go long.
Okay. Well, but let's not aim for that. All right. So next thing. All right. Our next two topics are community 411 and open to close. And I'm going to say
Hmm.
open to close. You either love it, you think it's one of the best tools we have,
Mm-hmm.
or you've never tried it
Okay.
because no one who tries it hates it,
That's true. That's
right?
true.
The
Yes.
only people who don't use it have just never used it. And again, I think part of it is timing, having open houses, like being able to utilize it. And
Sure.
I think that when it first came out, I remember when it first came out, gosh, it had to be 6 years ago. I had agents in my office going out and buying tablets because they wanted to have something at their open house. They didn't want to bring their laptop. And that was a block, right? Because it's like, okay, do I want do I want someone to walk off with my tablet? Do I want their
Right.
grubby fingers on my tablet? Like I don't like anybody touching my electronics. So that was a problem for me. But now with the QR code feature, it is super, super easy. So if a reason you haven't been using open to close is because you didn't want to bring the technology, it's a vacant house, they don't have Wi-Fi, right? All the reasons why that may or may not work. The QR code is the answer. Because if your clients, if the people, visitors, open house visitors have gone to a restaurant in the last year, they know how to use a QR code. So that's no longer
I
the fear.
agree.
And especially that we've got to have our fair housing notice on display. That's the way I encourage agents to set up their open house.
Right.
Fair housing here, QR code right next to it. Put
I
it in a two-sided sheet protector and have two of them right there.
You know what? I feel like, okay, so Applebee's was the first restaurant I thought of that comes to my mind when I'm thinking about doing the QR code. the little thing, paying by the blah blah blah. And I'm thinking to myself, like, for years we were okay with someone walking off with our credit card to some unknown dark black hole in the restaurant, who
Mm-hmm.
knows what's going on back there.
Right.
And then, a minute later, coming back out with a piece of paper that has our thing that we can, and hope, and hopefully we get our card back. If you're like me, you leave your card at the restaurant half the time, and who knows what happens. One time, before being like back when I was in high school, college, working at a retail store, somebody from a restaurant that was in the mall, one of the servers, came with a credit card and tried to buy all sorts of stuff at Christmas time. And yeah, we snuffed her right out. We were like, no, I don't think so. So that's a real story. Um,
Back to
so
open to close.
so isn't it great that you can do this with QR code now? You can pay
Yes.
for your meal, and you don't have to, you're sitting there at the end of you can have the most amazing meal as a restaurant. You can make food that's just unbelievable. And then at the end, if you don't deliver the bill at the time they actually want to leave, and they're sitting around like they're ready to go,
Right.
you can lose all that great goodwill and experience and great
Yes.
referral that you built up for the previous hour, like 2 hours, if you're like me, a slow eater. So
I
absolutely.
think, and so the other, and that's a great example because, I go to the same place with my Rotary Club, twice a month, and everybody pays individually. So there's always a line waiting to pay. And once they started putting the QR code on the bill, like I sit there at my seat, I pay on the bill. I don't have to go up and stand in line. And then by the time I get home, and it's not far from my house, I already have an email from them thanking me. Hey, thanks for coming. You earned some
Hmm.
points. Thanks for joining us. And I'm like, and that makes me feel good, right? Like, because I went there, I had a good experience.
Yes.
So
I've
that's again
Right.
with open to close, when they sign in that way, if they give their email, they're gonna get and if you check the box that says 3 hours later, send them a thank you. 3 hours later, they're gonna thank you from you.
So the objection I usually get when I talk to agents about open to close versus, like, well, let's call that new school and versus old school, right? Old school, you got a chart, a pen or something, and you're writing things down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let me put this way. I've never been in an experience where, like, somebody said, no, I don't want to do the digital, and they'd rather, I go, well, we need you to sign in. So, and then I go, I got the pen and the paper. Okay, well, like, can I write this? Guess what? They don't want to do that either. It's not like they go, oh, I don't want to do the digital. And then they go, yay, I'm so glad you can write it down. I feel so good now that you've got a pen and paper and you can write it
Yeah.
down. They don't want to do either. You're not
Right.
like the whole thing. So you've just got to get over that objection, which of course is, everybody it has a right to deserve to know who entered their home. If
Right.
your house was on the market, open house, you're not giving carte blanche just to let anybody willy-nilly, right? We have to keep track. That's part of the reason you have an agent. So I all think it's all in the delivery. We were talking about this, and I did this. I've been a huge fan of the QR code. And then my last open house, I actually just used the QR code for myself, because it gave me an opportunity to scan the QR code and then ask that potential future business a question which is a nice, easy layup question. What's your name? It's a layup, right? Super easy to answer. And if I say it in a really nice way, like, welcome to my open house. Listen, I'd love to get you signed in. Can you please, what's your name? And then I enter it I use my cell phone, right?
Right.
I go, what's your
Non-threatening.
name? And
Yeah.
they tell me their name. And then I go, all right, great. What's your email? And they tell me their email. Great. Hey, do you got a phone number? Yeah, absolutely. Here you go. Boom, boom. Everybody gave me every piece of information that I asked for, because I asked in a nice way, right?
Right.
And we're creating connection with these questions and these answers. So I had a great experience. Everybody signed in. There was no objections, blah, blah, blah. And now they automatically get fed into some of the other systems in the business, depending on how you do your settings. So yeah,
Right.
you really got to go into open to close and look at settings. You can turn off all the automatic stuff if you want to,
Right. Right.
right? Turn
I
it
don't know why
off,
you would, but you could.
but you could. You're in control, right? These are not automatics. You can
Right.
definitely toggle off everything. All right.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, fun,
No, I
fun,
think it's cool.
fun question. Like, I'll let everybody know my question. So and I try to make a little bit of a joke out of it after I get them with their name and their email and their phone. I go, okay, I just got a couple questions, and these are really, really intrusive. I usually set it up that way. These are really super intrusive questions. How did you hear about this open house? And they go, I don't know, Zillow or what? I go, great, Zillow. I'll call that the internet. And then I go, how do you like to be followed up with? Text, email, or phone? And most people say text. So I go, great, text. And I go, when would you like me to follow up with you? Today, this week, some point this month, or never? And they go, what? And I go, yeah, no, never. It's an option. I mean, if you don't want me to follow up with you, I won't. Right. They go, oh my, wow. Okay. They're not used to a salesperson, someone giving them the option to opt out of all that.
Right.
Right. And, and then there's a question about any, you have an agent you've been working with. Fantastic. What's their name? Great. Cause I already have a relationship with that person, and I'll call them and let them know you stop by.
Yeah.
So it's a great experience. It's the beginning in many cases of what we call that experience, of setting the stage for how you work, and I think helping you grow your business and people being
Yes.
open to working with you for sure.
And it's also, so it's, open to close. It's great for security in the house. You're going to be able to tell your
Yep.
seller, yes, I'm going to get the name of everybody who comes in. It's great for handling the flow, right? Like you're having that interaction, you're telling them it's going to be intrusive because it's so non-intrusive, right?
Right.
And then you can use it how you want after the fact. We did a session, I don't know how long ago, that was all based on micro farming from your open to close leads, right? Because obviously you put them in at that address, you
Mhm.
know where the house is, you know what the price is. Now you micro farm that area, right? Maybe you do a price reduction on that house. You let the people know. Maybe, based on the feedback we got at the open house, the sellers have gone ahead and repainted the whole thing. I'd love you to come check it out and see what you think. So you can then interact with those people, right? Like,
Yep.
so
It's
so you can use it as much or as little as you want.
sure.
Yeah, but I can tell you, Chuck, you and I have both been doing this a long time. Those, 8.5 by 14 sign-in sheets, usually by Wednesday after the weekend open house, they're never looked at again,
True.
which is
Absolutely.
sad.
It's
That's, you
it's the
know,
beginning of so one of my favorite thought gurus, we've talked about him on the show, is Seth Godin, and he's the godfather, coined the term permission-based marketing. And I feel like, to me, that's what the open house is. It's my first meet and greet with somebody, and my first chance to ask them for permission to follow up with them in the future. And I
yeah.
ask them, how do they want me to follow up with them? Text, phone, or email? I ask them, when do they want me to follow up with them? Today, this week, this month, or never, right? Those are really the two most important questions I have for anyone who comes to my open houses.
Yeah. I think, and I think this is where some people struggle with the tools because, we're talking about what it does at the basic and then like expand the balloon as to all the other things it does. But don't worry about that today. If you've never used open to close before, don't worry about how we can tell you that it's going to go into the Real Scout Pro Plus nurture campaign,
I
because that's like
wonder,
10 steps down the road. But
right?
once you start doing it, and then you're gonna be like, "Oh, it does
Mm,
that,
right, right,
and it
right,
does
right.
that, and it does that." So just use it. Make a
Ooh,
commitment. We wanna go back to giving homework. We haven't done that in a long time, Chuck. Homework. Do an open house and use open to close.
okay. You know what? Another really great question. And speaking of Rochester power broker Kathy Bianchi, because she taught me this, she said, when I do an open house, of course we want to sell the property. It'd be great if if I get a if I sell it, right? Um, but goal number 2 is to have an appointment with a buyer who came to your open house. So she said, so another question, I made this part of my sign in thing saying, I've got 2 appointments. I've got 2 time slots set aside It could be the same. It could be later today. It could be the following day. Okay. I've got 2 time slots set aside for a new buyer appointment. Would you like one of those? Would you like one of those appointments where we'll meet? Has anyone shown you a purchase and sale contract? Do you know what the heck it is you're going to be signing to make an offer on a property? Has anyone shown you that yet? The answer is almost always no. Okay. I mean, unless they've offered on 10 or 20 or however many houses or whatever, but open houses are going to be the hot commodity in real estate, especially as things change over the next few months.
Yeah.
And like I said, I made that a question, and open to close, you can absolutely do a custom question and then give it, these custom answers for people to select. Let them tell you when they want to meet with you next. Give them the opportunity to say yes or no. And if they don't want, then great, then doesn't work, but guess what? Somebody is going to say yes. And you're
Yes.
going to get another appointment, and appointments are the business. You get
Yes.
appointments, you sell real estate.
Right. That's the whole reason we're going for the gold, because
That's
we
it.
know
That's a big
how we
contest. I
really are.
love this contest.
Right.
I love it.
Right. It's funny because it's kind of like, well, I'm not going to win a prize. Yes, you are. You're going to have sales. You're going to have business. I don't
Right?
care if you don't get a little smoker or, $1,000 cash, which of course would be great. But the fact that you've got appointments means you're going to have sales, which means you're going to have checks, which just means you're going to have follow-up to do. It's just,
Yes.
if I guarantee you, if you never go on an appointment, you will never sell a house. That I 100% guarantee that.
Right?
All right. The last thing we want to go over, and it's funny because obviously Chuck and I talk about ahead of time what we're going to talk about on
Yeah.
here. And he was like community 411. And I will play the part of the agent, be like, what's that for? Like, I don't use community 411. I forgot all about it.
Right.
So, but Chuck convinced me in a matter of 5 minutes of a super cool. I realized I got really loud. I'm sorry, everyone.
It's okay.
In your car.
You're excited. I love it.
But and that's one, as Chuck will say, one drop the mic moment. And so this was my drop the mic moment, because again, we're talking about open houses because I do believe, like Chuck just said, it's a great way to meet people. So why in the world, or give me a great use for community 411.
Okay.
And I hope you remember what you said that I liked so much.
Of course. I never forget anything.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Unless the squirrel runs by.
I'm looking around. Where's that squirrel? No. So yeah, no. And this ties into open to close, right? And because what do everyone's got these huge, big, most times big flat screen TVs in their homes, and these TVs have USB ports on the back of the TV, right? Who would have thought? So what I do is, as I go to community 411, and I put in the area, the neighborhood, the zip code, whatever it is that has the statistics and the data for that area, and those are PDFs. It does like a slideshow of PDFs. You can download the PDFs. And then I go over to Canva and I open up a blank video presentation. I delete all the pages, and then I insert all 12 PDFs into the video. And I set the timer for each slide to like 20 seconds, maybe depending, 30 seconds. So you end up with like a 3 or 4 minute long circulating, video of the PDF. And then you do the setting to repeat, or you do that on the TV. But anyways, you save it to a little thumb drive. I've got one right here. You save it to one of these little babies. And then when you get to the house, you're doing your open house, you plug this in the back of the TV, and through the settings on the TV, you find the thumb drive, hit play on the thing. And now you've got a visual of where all the gyms are, where all the grocery stores are, where all the dog parks are, where all the blah, blah, blahs are, where the hospitals, where the this, where the that, and telling you what's going on in that area, helping sell that area for everybody who comes to see your open house. Right. So, especially these days where, buyers, are having to spread their search broader and broader,
Mhm.
right? They have to, they're considering sometimes in order to get homes that are more affordable, they're considering locations that they might not have considered before, and they might not know these areas as well as they do their own local area wherever it is they live now.
Yes.
Or if it's somebody, maybe somebody from Rochester who is taking a job at whatever growing business in Buffalo, they're not going to know these things, right?
Yep.
So you can help tell that story through Community 411, right? You can do that. That is a very powerful visual to have rolling at your open house.
And I
So,
would imagine, Chuck, that some of that data is not changing all that often. So, like,
correct.
if I market myself in a particular town and I've done that thumb drive, I can use that a few times. It's not like you're not giving me a chore that I need to do every week.
No.
I can keep it. And what I like about it too, I can remember one of the trainings years ago, Dan Elzer is one of my favorite trainers, and his
Mhm.
his was always like, capture and release at open houses, right?
Yes.
Like, you want to capture them, tell
He's,
them a little something, then release them. And then you're going to capture them back.
yeah.
Well, what's better than those people standing there taking a look at the screen, right? And I
Yes.
I can imagine someone saying to you, "Oh, do you have this data on the town 2 towns over? Do you have this data on a different market?" Just like you said, Chuck, we might be looking at a few different places. I'd love to know how this compares to the other town I'm looking at. And now you've got a reason to follow up. They're asking you for something that you're
Right.
providing. And that's that give and take that makes them want to work with you.
Right. And guess what? It's a slideshow that you made on Canva. So guess what you can do? You can insert some other content in between the slides. So
Yes.
if you wanted to insert a slide of your landing page for your buyers, your BMA from buy side, you want to have
Right.
that landing page and with a QR code, and somebody watching it could have their phone out and they could see a QR code and say, scan here to get to this landing page to find out the value of your property.
Right.
Or you could have a page that is just what? Your beautiful face, your contact information, your statistics, how much blah blah blah, your success story, testimonials about you.
Right.
You really could, it's part of the thing that gets them into the door and into interest, and you
Yeah.
can add other content as part of that visual. That's very powerful. And part of selling the house at the open house, we say in real estate you have to make at least 2 sales, right? But first you have to sell yourself. You never sell the house before you sold yourself.
Yes. And you want to stand out. And
Mhm.
I would imagine there's very few people doing a quarter of what you just talked about. And again, as big or as little as you want this to be, right?
Mhm.
So and if we talk, and I will say sometimes Chuck says, "Oh, just do this, this, and this." And I'm like, "Yeah, you lost me at this," right? Like
Which
I
this, which
can
is
do this
this.
and this afterwards because I don't know what this is. But ask your manager, ask your
Yep.
admin, obviously ask Kathy Bianchi because she knows everything. And I know she's watching, which is why we keep throwing her name because she's going to be so mad, like when everyone's calling her. But anyway, no, but ask us. We love to share ideas. Like, I will be telling everybody about doing this Community for One because it is a tool that I forgot about, because when I first learned it, there wasn't that hook that made me say, this is for me. This is going to help my business. This is going to help my
Yep.
clients. But what I heard, like I said, in just a few minutes yesterday, and now even more today, like, if I was an agent, I would leave this room and I would be asking to hold a house open because I would want to test it out and I would want to see how it's going to work.
And the
Uh,
last little thing I do with the video, this is a little extra. And the last thing, once I've got the video lined up and all my slides are lined up, is I throw music over it so that when it's playing, now you've got sound coming from the room too. So, versus going into that open house and I mean, maybe it doesn't have 50 people walking through it at once. I don't know, maybe and it's a little quieter. Having things broken up with some background music can be very, very helpful. And I think help create a mood and help sell a property. So,
100%. You should always have music at your open house, even
yep.
if it's,
And
I know times I've had to bring my own little portable speaker and
sure.
hook it
Yes.
up to my Spotify on my phone, because if it's too quiet, People don't feel comfortable. You
Yeah.
and you and frankly, you want them to be able to whisper to each other without you overhearing, because those buyers, if there's more than one person
Mhm.
buying, or even just I brought my friend to help me look at houses, like, we want to be able to talk without you hearing. So
Yep.
make them comfortable.
People, it's so funny. So I've got a listing, and we're having an open house tomorrow night at 5:30. And I was there yesterday. I had to take pictures of the basement, and anyways, I had the open house, and I go, well, I'll just put the sign in that says open house, and then tomorrow I got to swing back and put the Thursday 5:30 to 7:30 sign on. And this is not a busy street. It's not like a through street. It's not blah blah. People were coming up to the house knocking at, like, oh, do you guys have an open house right now? So so the owner put the sign back behind the garage. But she's like, oh my God, is it now? Can I get in? Can I see? I mean, people love going to open houses.
Right, right.
So
Now we can talk all, I mean, and there's plenty of tools that you guys know that you remember. We're not talking about the 5, 5, 10, 10, 10, 20. We're not talking about using presentations to make good flyers. Like, we could talk about tools all day, every day, and you probably already feel like your leadership does that. So we don't want to overwhelm, but we want to just say, here's a few things that really will help your business and provide service, whether
so
it's earnest, open to close, community 411.
yeah.
Awesome, awesome Hannah tools.
So everybody, listen, it's no secret. I like cake. I love cake, and I like to call it a commission cake. And so, what's your recipe? What's your recipe for your commission cake? So there's too many tools to do everything. And that's not the point of the dashboard. So that the agent that does everything on the dashboard is the one who's going to succeed the most. It is not. The point of it is there's something for everybody. We know that for the most part, you're not going to use a lot of it. But what is your recipe for your commission cake? I love the idea of a recipe. On Mondays, I do this. On Tuesdays, this goes out. On Thursdays, I send a follow up, I call 5 people, or I send 5 emails, or I do whatever. Like, what is your recipe that's repeatable that will result in your first commission cake, and then your second and your third? And next thing you know, you're running a whole bakery. You got commission cookies, you got commission cakes, you got commission tarts. I
Appropriate
mean,
pies.
commission pies for sure. So what's your recipe? I could come up with some recipes. If you guys want help, you can ask Lisa and I and Kathy Bianchi and about some help for some recipes that are repeatable
Yes.
to
Yeah.
get your commission cakes rolling through the oven.
Our job is to know all the tools to help you decide which ones are going to be best in your business.
Right.
You know,
Yep.
and I mean, as much as we talked about, if you said to me, you know what, Lisa, I'm not going to do an open house, and you gave me a bunch of reasons, respect, no problem. We won't do open houses. Let's talk about a community 411 mailing. Let's talk about taking the boost leads that you got on that new listing. Would you like to learn more about the town? I've made a presentation, and you email the presentation to the people who have inquired on Boost. So our job is to figure out what's going to work for you, because
Yep.
some people like chocolate cake, some people like vanilla cake, some people like carrot cake, some
Some
people
people
like
are allergic to cake.
allergic to cake.
So you can't, you got to have the right audience for whatever your message is, your right
Right.
thing. You got to hit the right audience. The audience is not ready to receive what your message is. It's just not going to work. And
No.
so stop trying to,
Yep.
but we need to do something consistently to stay top of mind. And when they need somebody, they hopefully need to think of you. And you're going to get a lot of them, but even then you're not going to get all of them. You can't get upset about the ones you miss. You just got to move on and celebrate the ones that you got, the ones that you helped. Absolutely. This was fun. We should do this show every week. Just kidding. It was fun. I'm not kidding about that part, but we have other ideas. We have,
This
yeah.
this was good. And next week we're back to numbers. The first Wednesday of the month, we're going to talk about some numbers. So if you try any of these things and you want to give us some numbers, like, hey, I did an open house and how many people used the open to close app, I talked about, or like, let us know your results. Let us know when you try these things, and let us know if you stumble. Let us know if, hey, I'm struggling here. Again, reach out to your manager,
Yep.
reach out to your admin team, reach out to any of us. And that's what we're here for, is to help. people in my offices have heard me say many times, don't spend more than 15 minutes trying to figure something out. If you're spending more than 15 minutes, you're missing one critical step. You're missing one little thing that you're probably not going to figure out on your own. So ask for help because
Right.
nothing should take that long.
Right. Yeah. No, it's funny. And when you hear the thing that you are missing, like you're like, oh, that's it. That happened to me at Fast Start. I was doing last week, and I said, do blah blah blah, and one of the Fast Start people said, all of a sudden I saw her eyes just, oh my God. She's like, you're doing the thing that we were all trying to figure out. And I go, yeah, all you do is you go here, you do the blah blah blah. She's like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
Yeah.
So
Never get
somebody else
frustrated
knows it.
for more than 15 minutes.
More than 50. Yeah, for sure.
No. Or call the help number, like you were saying.
Yeah. No, this was fun.
Always
Listen,
support.
if you want to put a comment in about the tool that you like, the tool that you forgot about, the tool you need help with, a success story about you did this and you saw blah 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 happen as a result of it. Yeah, let's do that. And I'm excited for next week's show about numbers. I want to go over the three numbers you need to communicate with your audience to know the market. Let's do it. And I'll show you how to communicate that information repeatedly to help establish your audience and grow your business.
Perfect. Looking
Can't
forward
wait.
to it.
Okay.
All right. Thanks
Let
for
me go.
watching us live.
All right. You got it. Oh, all right. Are we good? Are we done? We're out?
I think we're good.
All right. All right. Cheers, everybody.